streets and he gets the best marks on crime.
I think it is totally nutty that Zohran has basically repackaged defunding the police by being like, we got to take some of the toll off of these wonderful law enforcement officers and focus on areas where crime manifests, improve people's material conditions, and also hire a network of social workers to be tasked with dealing with a lot of these like mental health crises as opposed to cops. And people were like, wow, that is a brilliant idea. What a spectacular message. I have never heard this before. No one has ever brought this up. Is he wrong, though? What do you mean? This is the left position. It turns out just describing the process was so much better. I will say a big part of the reason why he has been able to do this is because he just says it how it is. And also, Democrats are too weak to launch a significant opposition against one of the only figures in the party right now that is actually making people excited. Message packaging on the left is so ass. Yeah, I think that's part of the problem for sure. But make no mistake, Republicans make their messages stick because they have a unified front. The Democrats and their left flank are constantly at odds with one another. They are constantly opposing one another. And therefore, there is no unified messaging front. Because if Democrats were like, hey guys, we don't mean like literally abolish the police. We mean that like cops are busy tackling crimes as they're supposed to be. But unfortunately, they can't tackle all the crimes when they're handling domestic disputes, things of that nature. If like establishment Democrats actually described what defund the police meant, I think that there would be a very different approach to it. Now, it's because Democrats at the national level did not want to do any of those things regardless. That's precisely the reason why they were acting scared. They were operating from a scared position. A lot of people at No Kings knew about Zohran Mamdani at our event on Saturday. Hell yeah. This is exactly why defund the police was a bad slogan. If someone disagrees with it, you explain what the slogan means and they agree with you, that just means you had a terrible slogan. No. Here's why that's wrong. Okay? Black Lives Matter. When Black Lives Matter first came out, it was, once again, activist backed. Okay? It was a statement. It was a message that the activists had put together. It wasn't like a focus group tested in the way that like a lot of these Republican narratives are. A lot of these Republican messages are. Having said that, initially when people said Black Lives Matter, a lot of people actually had a negative association with it. A lot of people actually went, oh, well, that just means white lives don't matter. The reason why I'm explaining this is because obviously people understood exactly what BLM means after Donald Trump negatively polarized, Donald Trump basically got Democrats to be negatively polarized against Trump when he was in opposition of BLM. And for a certain period of time, everybody understood, especially during peak woke in 2020, when BLM means, police are disproportionately targeting black people and brown communities, and we need to stop that, right? But leading up to 2020, when you said BLM, everyone would say all lives matter. A lot of people, like Republicans, had counter-messaged against it so aggressively. And because nobody actually defended Black Lives Matter in general, okay, if people heard what BLM meant, they were like, oh, I don't know about this, whatever, right? The reason why that slogan actually then overcame the negative associations was because more people messaged and defended the slogan and said, no, this is what it means. That's it. Slogans are only as effective or only as good as how much people explain what they mean. You can bastardize or you can actually destroy a slogan and a movement if there is no defense for it. Okay? That's it. And the same goes for like defund the police as well. I think people take this like... an immediate negative stance against it because they just like are predisposed with like backing down. Like they're so used to just saying like, oh, we lost this one, let's just move on. And that's the reason why there are certain slogans that I just don't back down from, like from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Like they tried to do that. A lot of Zionist advocacy groups still to this day try to make it seem as though from the river to the sea, Palestine would be free is actually a fucking genocidal slogan that means like we have to kill all the Jews or whatever. And I'm like, no, that's not the case. And I will never back down from that because that's not what it means. And the actual intention of bastardizing what that slogan means is specifically so that people can't even protest peacefully against Israel. And the same fucking goes for BLM. They wanted to actually stop people from saying Black Lives Matter, not because they were scared of the slogan itself, but because they wanted to stop you from protesting because they didn't like what you were protesting about. Okay, that's it. Isn't a slogan a device to quickly get a message across? If the slogan only becomes worthwhile once you spend massive energy to correct the misinterpretation it's created, doesn't that defeat the point? It's kind of like Fear and. Fear and is a silly podcast name, is a silly brand name. Everyone at first was like, oh, it's stupid, it doesn't matter. What the fuck do you mean it doesn't matter? But like, ultimately, if you can overcome that initial hurdle, then everyone will associate it with like actually what it is. Okay? It's unique. That's just how all slogans and sloganeering and all marketing works. That's just how it is. Anyway, a lot of people are still saying, nope, it's still bad. Okay. It gives so much ammo to conservatives, though. Calling it defund the police is just a bad name. I think like having these sorts of back and forth debates is also utterly unproductive in general. Okay. Because a slogan is just something that you say to start the conversation. Okay. And a lot of people, no matter how carefully calculated your slogan is, your opposition will always try to frame it in a negative fashion. Black Lives Matter means all lives don't matter until Black lives also matter because Black lives don't matter right now, right? Like that's what it meant. And yet people actively bastardized it. That's why I always go back to BLM. But now everybody knows what it means. And now it's gone through its popularity and now it's actually now associated with, unfortunately, the national organization, which was somewhat fraudulent. But ultimately, most people still understand what it means when someone says Black Lives Matter, right? Like, for example, the liberal protests, No Kings, okay, created by 5501 that took place this past weekend with 7 million attendees all across thousands of different towns and big cities all around the United States of America. If we were to leave it up to the Republicans, they'll say No Kings means you want America to fucking die. You hate America. And they were actively trying to position against that. They were like, oh, No Kings means you hate America. You hate America. Trump is not a king, so obviously you just want him dead or something. Or whenever people talk about like Antifa, anti-fascism, right? They're like, oh, you just want to kill us. You just want to kill us. You're saying we're a Nazi and you want to kill us. It's like, no, we're just saying you're a Nazi because you're behaving like a Nazi. You don't have to concede on the messaging front on a lot of these things, right? Because the moment that you do end up conceding and say, you know what, you're right, this slogan is bad, you have, for no real reason, decided to drop this cause instead of just like doubling down and explaining to people exactly what it means until you change the association with it. A lot of this stuff, a lot of the back and forth on the optics front revolves around which side's messaging is more powerful. It's not actually about the slogan itself. I'll give you the best example. Pro-life. Okay? Do we believe Republicans actually mean that they're pro-life? No, they're pro-force. They're pro taking away women's bodily autonomy. They're pro forcible pregnancies being carried to term. And yet they have been able to design their movement, not just on the slogan alone, but they've been able to design they've been able to design what that means. Okay. It's not because the slogan itself is good, even though it is good, right? It is a good slogan. But everybody understands if you're opposition to pro-life sentiment, you immediately know what that means. If you're pro-choice, you immediately know what pro-life means, right? The choice to kill your baby. Yes, exactly. Baby murder. Yes. People are proud to be Nazis nowadays, though. The choice to kill your baby. Yeah. Baby kebab. Exactly. Anyway. Keep in mind, this is from a Fox News poll. This is inherently biased against Mamdani. Social workers dealing with domestic disputes as this is crazy. Just describing the process how I got my mom to agree with Bernie Sanders back in 2015. As long as you don't say the words leftist or socialist, you can get conservatives to agree with you on basically anything. Yeah. But there is value, I think, There is value, I think, in standing by certain messages and not be afraid to defend them. There are red lines that I personally draw as well. As you guys know, one of the most famous ones is when I refused to concede on, like, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, or even globalize the Intifada, which Zohran shouldn't have actually conceded on. I think his initial statement was appropriate and apt. And the reason why I don't do that, the reason why I stand firmly and committed to certain messages, because I know that the oppositional framing on those messages are not about the slogan itself. They're not about the slogan itself at all. And they're about the movement itself. Long-time YouTube watcher, first-time commentator. I'm an active duty service member who also wears a keffiyeh in support of Palestine and spoken out against Zionism, the ongoing genocide, the cost of risk and retirement benefits. I also got my 79-year-old parents that agree with your positions and analysis. Keep up the good work. Hell yeah. Okay. In my experience, the best way to combat riskier propaganda is to lean into the average person's distrust about mainstream media, like they lied about Iraq. You don't think they lie about communism? Yeah, I mean, that could be a decent way to do it. But the same goes for socialism, Marxism, communism, all of those things. People, when they hear it, go, ugh, I'm scared of that. I've been conditioned into being scared of that. I've been conditioned into being fearful. I've been conditioned into assuming that, like, it means mass poverty for all. And it's like, no, it just means that you get to take home more pay from what you create at your workplace. It means that you get to have more control over your life. It means more democracy happening at the workplace as well. You like democracy. I like democracy. We all like democracy. And yet we spend 80% of our lives, we spend 80% of our adult lives in a non-democratic structure because the workplace is authoritarian. The workplace is outright fascist, really, when you think about it. So that's it. It's just like you can explain to people what this means depending on what your worldview looks like. Okay? You said we. Oh boy, here come the Clippers. Lamau says we. I know. Saw a video of a woman who voted for Trump. Her baby's having issues and his heart rate stopped. Heart rate dropped. She may need to get an abortion. Babies can die in the womb. An abortion removes the baby from the womb. She fell for the misinformation that all abortions are done late term. And now she regrets her vote because she herself may need an abortion. She's forced to birth the dead baby. She herself may very well die as well. Yeah.